The silent music mourning, the galactic Union had existed for 12,000 years. In that time they had witnessed the rise and fall of hundreds of civilizations. They had protocols for everything, treaties for trade, guidelines for first contact, and compensation packages for tragic accidents in deep space. Earth was new to this ancient club. Humanity had joined the Union only 40 years ago, and most species still considered them newcomers, young, emotional, unpredictable, the kind of species that needed careful management and gentle guidance from their wiser galactic neighbors. That's why nobody expected what came next. The colony ship Dawn's promise had been humanity's proudest achievement, a vessel 3 km long, carrying 50,000 people to a new world called Haven's Rest. Engineers, teachers, families, dreamers, they had left Earth singing songs and waving goodbye to loved ones who watched from observation platforms across the solar system. 16 months into their journey, the ship vanished. No distress call, no debris field, just silence where there should have been regular check-ins and excited transmissions about the journey. The ship disappeared somewhere in the hollow drift, a region of space known for unusual gravitational anomalies, but considered safe enough for travel. The Galactic Union expressed their condolences. The collective whose territory bordered the hollow drift offered their standard compensation package: 3 million credits, resettlement assistance for the families of the lost, an official apology drafted in 17 languages. They expected Earth to grieve quietly, to accept the tragedy as the cost of exploring the stars, to sign the paperwork and move on. The investigation, Captain Diana Reeves didn't do quiet grief. She stood in the command center of the Earth vessel Pathfinder, staring at holographic star maps with eyes that hadn't seen sleep in 4 days. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she kept drinking it anyway. Around her, a team of analysts worked in focused silence. Diana had lost her brother on the Dawn's promise, Marcus Reeves, chief botanist who had spent his whole life dreaming of growing Earth plants under alien suns. His wife, his twin daughters, barely 8 years old, all gone. But Diana wasn't just mourning. She was hunting. Captain, you need to see this, Lieutenant James Park called out from his station. He was the team specialist in analyzing subspace communication patterns. Diana crossed the room in 3 long strides. What do you have? Park pulled up a series of signal readings. I've been analyzing background radiation from the hollow drift for the past 6 months. Look at this spike here. 3 days before Dawn's promise went silent, the holographic display showed a massive energy surge. Not natural, not random. That's a weapon signature, Diana said quietly. Yes, ma'am, and it matches the disruptor technology, military grade. The room went silent. Other analysts stopped their work and turned to listen. Diana felt something cold settle in her chest. You're telling me the Dawn's promise didn't disappear in an accident? No, ma'am, I'm telling you it was destroyed deliberately. The quiet preparation. Earth's response was not what the Galactic Union expected. There were no angry broadcasts, no threats transmit across diplomatic channels, no heated demands for justice at the Union Assembly. Instead, Earth went quiet, too quiet. Ambassador Tora of the there collective found this suspicious. She had served as a diplomat for 300 years and had seen countless species react to tragedy. Humans were supposed to be Emotional, loud, demanding immediate action. The silence felt wrong. She sent a message to the Union Council. The humans are planning something. I recommend observation. The council made up of 8 elder species dismissed her concerns. They're grieving. Council Speaker Verith replied, let them mourn in peace, but Tara wasn't convinced. She had studied humanity during Earth's admission process. She had read their history, wars that spanned continents, conflicts that reshaped their entire world. Humans didn't just grieve, they remembered and they acted. Discovery. Diana stood in the briefing room of the newly constructed Earth Defense Command Station orbiting Mars. The room was filled with military officers, government officials, and intelligence specialists. On the wall behind her, evidence floated in holographic displays, signal patterns, energy signatures, flight trajectories. Dawn's promise was intercepted here. She pointed to location in the hollow drift. 3 The military vessels ambushed them. The attack lasted 7 minutes. There were no survivors. Government official leaned forward. What possible reason would Thanes have to attack a civilian colony ship? Diana pulled up another display. Havens Rest, our destination world. We didn't know this when we launched, but our surveys were incomplete. Haven's Rest sits on top of the largest deposit of trilithium crystals ever discovered. Thanes knew they wanted the planet, and we were in the way. Anger rippled through the room, but it was controlled. Focused, Admiral Chin, head of Earth's combined fleet, spoke quietly. What are our orders? The Secretary General of Earth stood up. A woman named Sarah Kamani, who had led Earth through its first 4 decades in the galactic community. Her voice was steady. We will not demand justice through words. We will not beg the Union Council to investigate. We will show them what humanity does when our family is murdered. She pressed a button. Every screen in the room lit up with a single image. Ships, thousands of them, filling Earth's orbital space like a swarm of metal stars. The reveal. The galactic Union didn't notice at first. Earth had been building quietly, retrofitting civilian vessels, activating old military craft, manufacturing new warships, and hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon and in the asteroid belt. By the time Union sensors picked up the massive fleet gathering in Earth system, it was too late to stop what was coming. 7,000 ships, the largest human fleet ever assembled. Ambassador Tora watched the sensor readings with growing horror. They're not mourning, she whispered. They're preparing for war. Diana Reeves stood on the bridge of her new command, the battleship Remembrance. Around her, 6,999 other ships waited for the order to move. All ships report ready, Captain, her communications officer announced. Diana looked at the star map, at the hollow drift where her brother had died. At the space beyond it. Send a message to the Galactic Union Council, she said. Tell them Earth is coming, not for war, for answers, and we won't be ignored anymore. The fleet engaged their drives. 7,000 points of blue-white light flared in Earth's orbit. The galaxy had expected silence from Earth. Instead, the sky turned human, and nothing would ever be the same. The sky turns human. The Galactic Union Council chamber had stood for 8,000 years, built from crystallized starlight in quantum locked matter. It floated in neutral space, equidistant from all major civilizations. Today its walls trembled not from weapons from the sheer mass of 7,000 human ships holding position just outside the diplomatic zone. Council Speaker Vareth stood before the assembly, his 4 eyes flickering with uncertainty. In all his 6 centuries of service, he had never seen anything like this. The humans hadn't fired a single shot. They had simply arrived and waited. The demand. Diana Reeves materialized in the council chamber via holographic projection. She wore her Earth Fleet uniform perfectly pressed. Her face was calm, but her eyes held something that made even the eldest species shift uncomfortably. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. Earth comes before you not as supplicants but as equals demanding truth. Vareth cleared his throat. Captain Reeves, this display of military force is highly irregular. The Union has protocols for $50,000 of my people are dead. Diana interrupted. Her voice never rose, but it cut through his words like a blade. Not from an accident, from murder. And your protocols offered us credits and apologies. She gestured, and holographic evidence filled the chamber. Energy signatures, communication intercepts, flight data recovered from debris fields that the thought they had destroyed completely. The Dawn's promise was deliberately targeted and destroyed by Thene military vessels. The attack was premeditated. The cover-up was systematic, and your Union knew. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Delegates from 100 species began talking at once. Ambassador Torres stood frozen at the delegation table, her face unreadable. The alien perspective. The observation galleries. Representatives from species across the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Among them sat Counselor Zishara of the Seventhian Accord, a species known for their scholarly nature and extensive historical records. Remarkable. Zikara whispered to her aide, "Do you understand what we're witnessing?" The aide shook her head. For 12,000 years the Union has operated on a simple principle: might determines right, but power must be demonstrated slowly, carefully through centuries of diplomatic maneuvering. Species that react emotionally to tragedy are considered primitive, weak. Zikara gestured to the holographic display showing the human fleet. Look at them. They grieved for exactly 4 months. Not a day of public outcry, not a single threat, just silence. And in that silence they built an armada. But why? Her aide asked. Thenes have 12 colonial worlds and fleets 10 times this size. The humans can't possibly win a war. They're not here to win a war, Zishkara said softly. They're here to make sure nobody ignores human grief ever again. Win or lose, the galaxy will remember this day. The truth unveiled. Diana continued her presentation. The collective wanted Haven's rest for its tritium deposits rather than negotiate. They eliminated the competition. They murdered 50,000 civilians, including 8,000 children. She paused, letting that number sink in. Union Council received evidence of Thene military activity in the Hollow Drift 3 weeks after the Dawn's promise disappeared. This evidence was filed and forgotten. Convenient, quiet, easier than confronting a powerful member species. Council Speaker Vera's face darkened. Captain, those are serious accusations. I have the communication logs, Diana said flatly, submitted by Union Observer Kesfel, filed under Incident Report 7743. Delta never investigated, never shared. With Earth, would you like me to display them for the entire council? Varith went silent. Ambassador Tora suddenly stood. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. The diplomat's posture was rigid, her breathing controlled. For a long moment she said nothing, then she spoke. Captain Reeves is correct, gasps echoed through the chamber. The attack on Dawn's promise was authorized by the High Command. I learned of this 3 days ago when I pressed my government for answers about the human fleet movements. I was told to remain silent, that the matter was closed, that Earth would accept the compensation and move on. Plus voice grew stronger. I have served the Union for 300 years. I believed in its principles of peace and cooperation, but I will not be complicit in the murder of innocents and the corruption of justice. She transmitted a data package to the entire council. Is everything communications between High Command and the attack fleet. Orders to destroy the colony ship. Instructions to fabricate the accident. Story, all of it. The human response. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Again, delegates shouted accusations. The delegation tried to defend themselves. Security protocols activated, ready to seal the chamber if violence broke out. Diana raised her hand and somehow, impossibly, the chamber quieted. Earth did not come here for revenge, she said. We came for acknowledgement, for justice, for the promise that when humans die, the galaxy will not just file reports and forget. Admiral Chen's voice joined hers through the communication link. Our fleet carries enough firepower to glass every colony world. We could start a war that would tear the sector apart, but that's not who we are. Diana nodded. We want 3 things. First, the officers responsible for the attack will be tried for war crimes in a neutral court. Second, Haven's Rest will be recognized as Earth territory, and Thanes will pay for its colonization in memory of those who died trying to reach it. Third, the Union Council will establish a new protocol, the Reeves Protocol. She pulled up a document. Any attack on civilian vessels will trigger immediate mandatory investigation by a neutral third party. No filing and forgetting. No convenient silence. Justice will be public, transparent, and swift. Council Speaker Varith looked at the human fleet on his tactical displays, then at the evidence filling his chamber, then at Diana's unwavering gaze. The council will vote, he said quietly, the new understanding. 3 hours later, the vote concluded. The Reeves Protocol passed. With 87% approval, the government agreed to all terms rather than face a war they knew would devastate both sides. Diana stood on the bridge of the Remembrance, watching as the human fleet began to disperse, ships returning to Earth, others heading to secure Haven's Rest, and few remaining on station as the new Earth Embassy guard, Lieutenant Park, approached her. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from all over the galaxy. Smaller species, colonies that have faced similar incidents, they're calling you a hero. Diana shook her head. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who refused to let my brother's death be forgotten. She looked at the stars, at the vast expanse of space that humanity was still learning to navigate for 12,000 years. This galaxy has operated on the assumption that new species should be seen and not heard, that grief should be private and inconsequential, that power is the only language worth speaking. Diana turned to her crew. Today we taught them something different. We showed them that humanity doesn't just grieve, we remember, we act. And we will never ever accept silence when justice is required. The aftermath, counselor. Zara stood in her observation gallery, watching the human fleet depart. Her aide stood beside her, still processing everything they had witnessed. They changed everything, the aide whispered. Without firing a single shot. Yes. Sichara agreed, that's the most terrifying part. They didn't need violence, they just needed to show up. To refuse to be dismissed, to turn their grief into purpose. She pulled up historical records on her data pad. Every species that joins the Union goes through a defining moment, a point where the galaxy decides how to treat them. The Centanthians proved our worth through scientific advancement, the Taurans through military conquest, the Vich through economic dominance, and the humans. Hurade asked. Zikara looked at the departing fleet, at the blue world of Earth visible in the distance. The humans proved their worth through something we had forgotten was possible. They showed us that emotional depth isn't weakness, that grief can fuel justice instead of just rage, that a young species can teach old ones new lessons. She saved her observations to the Centanthian historical archives. Mark this day carefully, the day the sky turned human, the day the Galactic Union learned that Earth will not mourn quietly, they will mourn powerfully, purposefully, and in a way that ensures nobody forgets the lives they've lost. The promise on Earth. Sarah Kamani addressed a crowd of millions. Families of the Dawn's promise victims stood in the front rows, many crying, some smiling through their tears. Today we honor the 50,000 souls who journeyed toward tomorrow and never arrived. She said, we honor them not with silence, but with action. Haven's rest will be built. Your loved ones will have their new world, and their names will be the first carved into its foundation stones. She looked up at the sky where ships were returning home. The galaxy expected us to accept tragedy as the price of reaching for the stars, but humanity has never accepted what others expect. We reach higher, we demand more, not because we're aggressive, but because every human life matters, every dream deserves protection, every loss deserves justice. The crowd erupted in applause that echoed across the plaza. Diana Reeves watched the broadcast from the remembrance beside her holographic display. She had placed a small photograph, her brother Marcus smiling in a garden surrounded by exotic plants he had cultivated, his daughters on either side of him laughing at something outside the frame. We did it, Marcus, she whispered. The galaxy will remember you, all of you. Outside her viewport, the stars shone brightly, and among them humanity's ships moved with new confidence. No longer the newcomers hoping for acceptance, now they were equals who had earned their place, not through conquest but through the simple, powerful act of refusing to let their dead be forgotten. The sky had turned human, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.